Welcome back to the deep dive. I am so ready for this one.
Me too. This one is a monster.
It really is. Today, we are standing on the precipice of a massive shift in how we tell stories about ourselves. We are looking at a book that, when it was first printed, was treated essentially like a radioactive isotope.
That's a good way to put it.
It wasn't just disliked, it was buried, hidden, and actively suppressed because it dared to tell a truth that polite society just wasn't ready to hear.
It is a text that fundamentally changed the DNA of American literature. It moved us away from the moralistic fairy tales of the 19th century, the ones where the good are rewarded and the bad are punished.
Right, the simple morality plays.
And dragged us, kicking and screaming, into the cold, hard light of the 20th century. It is a book that acts almost like a scientific instrument, a microscope looking at the human soul under the crushing pressure of capitalism.
We are talking, of course, about Theodore Dreiser's Sister Carrie. And before we get into the scandal, the magnets, the mashers, and the money, I want to start with the opening hook. It is this famous dichotomy that Dreiser sets up right on page 3 of the text.
Yes.
It sets the stage for everything. He writes, "When a girl leaves her home at 18, she does one of two things. Either she falls into saving hands and becomes better, or she rapidly assumes the cosmopolitan standard of virtue and becomes worse."
That is the classic Victorian setup. It's the binary, good or evil, saved or damned.
But here is the kicker, the part that really upset the apple cart, he adds. Of an intermediate balance, under the circumstances, there is no possibility.
No middle ground.
That is heavy. It's like he is saying, welcome to the city. You are either going to be saved or you are going to be ruined. There is no middle ground. It feels very fatalistic right off the bat. It feels like there is no safety net.
Exactly. But what we're going to find as we unpack this, and this is the mission of our deep dive today, is that Dreiser is actually playing a trick on us.
Oh, interesting. How so?
He starts with that binary, but he spends the rest of the book dismantling it. He is going to show us that ruin and success aren't moral categories of this world. They are physical economic forces.
So it's not about good and evil, it's about physics.
It's about physics. It's about biology. We're going to look at how this specific text revolutionized American literature by treating immorality not as a sin you commit because you are wicked, but as a byproduct of economic and social forces.
Right. It's not about being a bad person. It's about gravity. It's about being cold, being hungry.
Precisely. So we're diving into the introduction, the publication history, and the first 11 chapters of the book. We're going to look at the mechanism of the magnet, which is the city, and the waif, which is our protagonist, Carrie. And the central tension here is that Dreiser argues there is no balance possible. You're either rising or you are sinking.
So let's set the scene. It is August 1889. We are on a train bound for Chicago. But before we get on that train, we have to talk about the book itself as an object, because the story of how this thing got published is almost as dramatic as the plot.
Oh, it's incredible.
It's honestly a miracle we're reading it at all.
It really is. The source material we have includes a fascinating introduction detailing the dirty secret of its publication in 1900. It paints a picture of a literary world that was very gate-kept, very controlled.
So Dreiser finishes this huge manuscript, and he submits it to a publisher, Doubleday, Page & Co.
He does. And at first, things look really promising.
And at first, it looks good, right? The literary types are into it.
It looks great initially. Frank Norris, who is a famous novelist in his own right, he wrote The Octopus and McTeague, was working as a reader for the firm.
So he's a respected author himself. He knows what's good.
Exactly. He's not just some intern. He read the manuscript and was blown away. Absolutely loved it. He saw it as a masterpiece of realism, a groundbreaking work. He goes to his bosses and strongly recommends that the book be acquired.
So he's championing it.
He is. And another partner, Walter Page, also admired it. So verbally, they say yes. They tell Dreiser, we're going to publish this. They make a contractual agreement.
But then the manuscript goes home with the boss, Frank Doubleday. And more importantly, it goes home to his wife, Mrs. Doubleday.
And this is where the cultural clash happens. This is the moment everything goes wrong.
And Mrs. Doubleday reads it. And I'm guessing she didn't fan herself and say, my, what a lovely story.
Far from it. The story goes, she was so horrified she couldn't sleep. She hated it. She vehemently argued that it was immoral.
Not just a bad book, but an immoral one. What was her big problem with it?
Her core grievance is really the key to understanding why this book matters so much. Her problem wasn't just that there was sex or sin in the book. There was plenty of that in literature. Her problem was that the author did not punish Carrie for it.
Okay, let's unpack this, because this is the crux of the Victorian mindset. Carrie is, by the standards of 1900, a fallen woman.
Absolutely.
Uh.
She eventually lives with a man out of wedlock. She accepts money from men she isn't married to. She is what they would call a kept woman.
Yes. And in the Victorian novel code, the canting code, as the sources call it, if a woman transgresses like that, the universe has to punish her.
It's a rule. It's an ironclad law of fiction at the time.
She has to pay. She has to die of consumption or end up begging in the gutter or undergo a massive spiritual repentance where she cries for forgiveness in a church.
Exactly. Think of Madame Bovary or Anna Karenina. If you step out of line, the train is coming for you. Quite literally in Anna's case, there are consequences, moral consequences. But
Carrie doesn't die. Carrie doesn't beg.
no. She is rewarded. She gets material comfort. She gets success. She gets the nice clothes. She ends up better off materially than when she started.
And Mrs. Doubleday looked at that and said, we cannot print this. It teaches a bad lesson. It's basically saying crime pays, or at least sin pays.
It's the lack of consequence that terrified them. It suggested that the universe doesn't care about your morals. It suggested that God isn't keeping score, or at least not in the way they thought.
It's a terrifying thought for the guardians of public morality in 1900.
It completely undermines their worldview. It suggests that if you are pretty and lucky, you can break the rules and get away with it. That the world is driven by chance and desire, not by some divine moral calculus.
So the publisher tries to back out. They get cold feet.
They try desperately to back out. Frank Doubleday comes back to Dreiser and basically says, we made a mistake. My wife hates it. It's filth. We can't publish it.
But they had a contract.
They had a contract. And Dreiser, who was not a wealthy man and had staked everything on this, stood his ground. He said, you signed a contract. You have to publish it.
So what do? They're stuck.
They did something very passive-aggressive. They were legally bound to print it, so they did. But they printed a stingy edition. Just over 1,000 copies.
1,000 copies, that's nothing. For a major publisher, that's an insult.
It's basically an insult. And they refused to market it. They didn't send out review copies to newspapers. They didn't put it in store windows. They basically tried to bury it alive in their warehouse.
That is wild. They printed it just so they wouldn't get sued, but they hoped nobody would buy it. They tried to kill their own product.
They tried to make it disappear. And for a while, it worked. The book sold fewer than 500 copies. Dreiser made $68.
$68 for a masterpiece.
And the experience broke him for a few years. It wasn't until it was reissued in 1907 by a different publisher that it really got its due. By then, the critical landscape had shifted enough to acknowledge it as a picture of conditions done simply and effectively. But that initial reaction tells you everything. This book was dangerous because it refused to judge. It just showed what happened.
And that brings us to the guy who wrote it, Theodore Dreiser. He's not coming from the ivory tower, is he? He's not some Harvard-educated elite writing about the poor from a distance.
Not at all. And that's maybe the most important part of this. This is the realism root of the story. Dreiser was born in 1871 in Terre Haute, Indiana. His family was poverty-stricken, German Catholic. He was the 9th of 10 surviving children.
That is a crowded house, and a poor one.
Very poor, and very religious, but in a way that felt oppressive to him. His father was a strict, dogmatic Catholic who saw sin everywhere. And the source material highlights a crucial personal connection. The plot of Sister Carrie isn't just made up. It is modeled on his own sister, Emma.
Oh, wow. So here's his family history. He's airing the family laundry.
He is. And it caused a huge rift in his family. His sister Emma eloped with a tavern manager named L.A. Hopkins. Hopkins had stolen $3,500 from his employers and ran off with Emma to start a new life.
So a man of questionable character.
Definitely. And Hopkins becomes the model for a character we will meet later, Hurstwood. Emma essentially traded sex and social standing for material comfort with this man. Dreiser watched this happen to his own flesh and blood. He saw the forces that pushed her into it.
That must have shaped his worldview to see it up close like that.
It absolutely did. He understood that the dirty secret of American society wasn't sex. It was class. It was the profound, unbridgeable gulf between the rich and the poor. He knew what it felt like to be on the outside looking in with your nose pressed against the glass.
I love the metaphor the source uses for him. It calls him a forensic anthropologist.
Yes, that's a perfect description. He isn't a preacher. He's not telling you what's right or wrong. He is a scientist. He is dissecting the American dream. He is looking at a society where, as he puts it later, obscurity is a mortifying fate.
That's a great line.
Isn't it? He sees that people are terrified of being nobodies, and they are terrified of being poor, and that fear drives everything. He isn't writing to preach. He's writing to record the pathology of desire. He wants to know how it works, What are the mechanics of wanting things you can't have?
So with that framework that we are looking at, a forensic dissection of poverty and desire, let's jump onto that train. Chapter 1, the magnet attracting.
And here we meet Caroline Meeber, Sister Carrie. She is 18. She is bright, timid, and full of the illusions of ignorance.
I love that phrase, illusions of ignorance. It's so gentle, but so cutting. It implies that her ignorance isn't just a lack of knowledge, it protects her, but it also deludes her.
It's a bubble, and that bubble is about to burst.
She thinks the world is waiting for her, and we get an inventory of her life. This breaks my heart a little. She has a cheap imitation alligator skin satchel, a paper box lunch, a yellow leather snap purse, and $4.
Let's pause on that inventory.
Yeah.
Every single item tells a story. Imitation alligator skin. That tells you she wants to look wealthy, she has aspirations, but she can only afford the fake version.
The dream and the reality right there in her handbag.
And $4. That is her safety net. That is everything she has in the world to start a new life in one of the biggest, most brutal cities in America.
And she is heading into Chicago. Now, you have to understand, in 1889, Chicago isn't just a big town. The text describes it as a magnet.
Right, capital M. It's not just a setting, it's an active force. Dreiser writes that it is a giant magnet attracting waifs. It appeals to the senses with equivocal terms.
Equivocal terms, that means it's sending confusing signals, right? It's ambiguous.
Exactly. It's promising everything, light, excitement, money, love. But it doesn't tell you the cost. It doesn't tell you the fine print. It lures people in with the promise of life, but it feeds on them. It's like a Venus flytrap made of brick and mortar.
And on this train, while she is staring out the window, feeling this magnetic pull from the city, she feels another pull right inside the train car.
A smaller, more immediate magnet.
Enter Charles Drouet, the masher.
The masher.
The masher. I love that this was an actual sociological term in 1880. It sounds like a potato utensil, but it's a type of guy.
It was a very specific type.
Ugh.
The source defines a mayor as a man whose dress and manners are calculated to elicit admiration from susceptible women. He is a type. He is a drummer, a traveling salesman.
He's a professional charmer.
He is. He is the guy who knows the slang, wears the latest cut, and has a very specific kind of confidence. He is the guy who leans a little too close, but smiles so winningly you don't pull away. He radiates success, or at least the appearance of it.
And the book spends so much time describing his clothes. It's like a fashion spread in a magazine. He has this striped brown wool suit, which is tight-fitting, a pink and white striped shirt, a gold watch chain with an Elks insignia, shiny tan shoes.
Those details are crucial. To us, looking back, he might sound a bit loud or tacky. A plaid suit, a pink striped shirt. Sound like a cartoon character. But to Carrie, sitting there in her plain blue dress with the worn shoes, he looks like a king.
He looks of money.
He looks like power. He looks like everything she wants to be. Every item of his clothing screams that he's part of the city, part of the game.
Why the pink shirt? What does that signal?
A pink shirt in 1889 implies you don't do manual labor. It implies you have access to laundry, which was a luxury. It implies leisure. And the Chinese shoes. If you walk in the mud of the stockyards, your shoes aren't shiny. Shiny shoes mean you walk on pavement. You walk in offices. You ride in carriages.
It's all code.
It's all code. And there's this moment where the text says, a woman should someday write the complete philosophy of clothes.
Yes. That is one of my favorite lines. It says that there is a line where a man's dress causes her to study her own. That is the transaction right there.
It is. Dreiser doesn't win her over with poetry. He doesn't win her with intellect. He wins her by making her painfully aware of her own poverty. He's a walking, talking advertisement for a life she craves.
He notices her shabby dress, he points out things about the city, and then he flashes the cash.
The fat purse full of greenbacks. It's not subtle. He pulls it out, and the sight of all that money, it's intoxicating to her.
So he gets her address, tells her he'll come see her. He breaks down her reserve just by being warm and looking rich. He is the embodiment of that magnet. He is the city in human form, promising ease and comfort.
And he is nice. That's the tricky part. He isn't a villain twirling a mustache. He's not menacing. He's genuinely friendly. He's cheerful.
Which makes him more dangerous in a way.
Absolutely. If you were a monster, she would run. But he is a merry, unthinking moth. He just wants to have a good time, and he wants her to have a good time, too.
Yeah.
He represents the seduction of stuff. He's an evil. He's just shallow. But shallow can be very appealing when you're drowning in the deep end.
So she arrives in Chicago. Drouet says goodbye for now, and she goes to stay with her sister, Minnie, and her brother-in-law, Sven Hansen. And talk about a cold shower.
Oh my God, yeah.
We go from the masher in the pink shirt to the cleaner of refrigerator cars.
This is section 3, the cold reality of labor. We move from the fantasy of the train ride to the flat on Van Buren Street. And the atmosphere is just lean. It is stripped bare of any joy or beauty.
It's grim, discordant wallpaper, cheap furniture. The text describes life there as a lean, narrow life. And the people are grim too. Sven Hansen is a cleaner of refrigerator cars at the stockyards. He is silent. He saves every penny.
He is the polar opposite of Drouet. Drouet spends, Hansen saves, Drouet talks, Hansen is silent. He represents the conservative round of toil.
And Minnie, her sister, is just worn down, hardened by toil.
They are surviving, but just barely. And their survival strategy is to strip their lives of all amusement. They don't go to the theater, they don't buy nice food, they don't laugh. They exist to work.
And they expect Carrie to do the same, immediately.
Immediately. They expect her to find work and pay board $4 a week.
Wait, $4 a week? That was her entire savings on the train.
Exactly. The math is brutal from the very first day. Her entire net worth is 1 week's rent in this depressing flat. And remember that number, it becomes very important when she actually finds a job.
But first, she has to hunt for one. And this description of the job hunt is terrifying. Anyone who has ever looked for a job and felt unqualified will relate to this.
It is so visceral. It's called the terror of the city. She walks past these genteel businessmen behind large plates of window glass. She feels like an outcast. She's intimidated. She is too afraid to even enter some of the stores to ask for a job.
She literally can't bring herself to open the door.
She is experiencing the walled city of wealth. She sees the trinkets, the laces, the ribbons, all the beautiful things for sale, and she realizes she is on the outside looking in. The city is a fortress, and she doesn't have the password. The password is money.
She goes to the fair, a huge department store, and is rejected. The text mentions she is rejected by a sharp-mannered Jew for lacking experience, reflecting the ethnic categorizations of the time, but the feeling is universal rejection. She is ignored by the fine ladies shopping there. It's a total erasure of her self-worth.
She feels invisible and worthless. She realizes she is nothing to this city unless she has money or a job. And finally, after days of this, she gets one at a shoe factory.
And this is where Dreiser's realism really shines. He doesn't gloss over it. He doesn't make it a plucky montage of her learning the ropes. He describes the reality of factory work.
The place smells. That's the first thing he tells you. It smells of oil and fresh leather. It's dingy. And the other workers are described as clattering automatons. They aren't people, they are parts of the machine.
And the physical toll, the stool has no back. I read that and my own back started hurting.
It's designed to break you. It's designed for maximum efficiency, not human comfort. Her neck aches, her shoulders ache, the pace is relentless. Don't keep the line waiting. If you slow down, the whole factory slows down. The pressure is immense.
So what does this soul-crushing labor pay?
And here's the math. The brutal, unforgiving math of 1889. She gets paid $4.50 a week.
Okay, so let's do the math again. She pays Minnie $4 for board.
Which leaves her 50 cents.
50 cents a week for everything else.
For clothes, for car fare, for amusement, for saving, for emergencies. It is impossible. It is a starvation wage. She is working herself to the bone and she has 50 cents to show for it.
She realizes that even if she works this hard forever, she will never have the nice things she saw in the window. She will never have a fake alligator bag, let alone a real one.
The dream is dead. The magnet was a lie. This is the reality. And to make it worse, she doesn't even fit in with the other workers. She thinks they are common.
The boys poke her in the ribs and call her Maggie? She's an object to them, too.
She is completely alienated. Alienated at work, alienated at home, because the Hansens are so dour and disapproving. She is trapped. And this is where section 4 comes in. The slide.
The slide. I like that.
We have to understand that what happens next isn't a sudden leap into sin. It isn't a decision like, I'm going to be bad now. It is a slow, painful slide caused by biological necessity.
It starts with the weather. Winter is coming.
Winter is a great antagonist in this book. It's not just a season, it's a force of nature that threatens to kill you. In modern times, winter is an inconvenience. You turn up the heat. In 1889, without money, winter is death.
And Carrie has no winter clothes, no jacket, no sturdy shoes.
And no money to buy them.
Yeah.
She buys an umbrella for $1.25, which is almost 3 weeks of her disposable income. and Hansen gets angry at her for it.
Angry at her for buying an umbrella to walk to work in the rain.
Because that's money she shouldn't have spent. It's an extravagance in their world. Then, inevitably, she gets sick.
Of course she does. She's overworked, underfed, and not properly dressed for the weather.
She catches a cold, then a fever. She misses 3 days of work. And in the brutal logic of the 1889 labor market, she loses her job. Just like that.
No sick leave. No HR department.
You don't show up, you're fired. Someone else is waiting to take that back to stool.
So she is sick, she has no job, and Hansen, her own brother-in-law, basically gives her an ultimatum.
He does. He's not cruel in his mind. He's practical. He tells her she has to find another job or she has to go back home to Columbia City.
Which to Carrie is a fate worse than death. She cannot bear the thought of the dull little round of home. She has tasted the city, she has seen the lights. Going back means admitting defeat. It means becoming a nobody again.
So she's at rock bottom, desperate, wandering the streets, trying to figure out how to survive. And who does she run into?
Our man Drouet, the masher, right on cue.
And the contrast is devastating. This is the pivotal moment of the first part of the book. The text paints this incredible picture. She's pale, sick, defeated, shivering in thin clothes.
And he is rosy-cheeked, radiant warm. He's wearing a new overcoat. He looks like a furnace of life. He is glowing with health and money.
The contrast is between death and life. Cold and warmth.
Oh.
And he immediately sees her distress. He takes her to lunch at the Windsor. And this scene, the food description is vital.
Oh, it is. He orders sirloin steak with mushrooms, stuffed tomatoes, coffee. It's not just food, it's luxury, it's heat, it's energy.
And Dreiser focuses on the physiology here. He doesn't say she was happy. He describes the smell of the savory steak. The food physically revives her. The warmth of the restaurant, the radiating presence of Drouet, it acts on her like a drug.
It's not a moral choice, it's a biological imperative.
Exactly. It's not that she decides, I will be his mistress. It's that her body is screaming for warmth and sustenance, and he provides it. It's a purely physical reaction. Her body chooses for her.
And then comes the money.
Then comes the money. He offers her a loan. She refuses at first. Her moral trait, her conscience kicks in. She says no, but he insists. He presses two soft, green, handsome $10 bills into her hand.
$20. Let's do the math again. That is nearly 5 weeks of wages at the factory.
5 weeks of back-breaking labor handed to her in 1 second. In her hand, instantaneously. The expert insight here is that taking this money isn't a calculated moral decision. It is a physiological reaction. It is warmth versus cold. It is life versus death. The $20 feels more real than the abstract idea of virtue.
But she still intends to give it back, right? In her mind, she's not selling herself.
She tells herself, I'll return this, I'll just borrow it. She convinces herself it's a loan, but then she walks past the fair store again, the department store, and we get this incredible concept, the persuasion of fashion.
The clothes speak to her.
They literally speak to her. The text says the clothes whisper to her, my dear, I fit you beautifully, don't give me up.
The voice of inanimate objects. That is so spooky, but so accurate to how shopping feels sometimes. It feels like the jacket is calling your name.
It creates a relationship between the person and the object. Marx called it commodity fetishism. But Dreiser makes it personal. He makes it a romance. She tries on a tan jacket with mother-of-pearl buttons. It fits perfectly.
And in that moment, in that jacket, she feels like a different person.
She feels like the person she was meant to be. And suddenly, the resolve to return the money evaporates. The jacket argues its case better than her conscience does. The jacket says, I will make you warm. I will make you look like you belong. I am the answer.
So she buys the jacket and some new shoes. And when she buys the jacket, she can't go back to the Ansons.
She's crossed the Rubicon.
They would know she didn't earn that money. They know she's unemployed. The jacket is a confession.
Exactly. The lie would be impossible to maintain. So she meets Drouet again. He convinces her to rent a room, leave her new clothes there, and write a note to her sister saying she's left town to take a new job.
But notice how he frames it. He doesn't say, be my mistress. He doesn't say, sex for rent.
No, he's much smoother than that. He says, I'll loan it to you. You can pay me back when you get a job. He frames it as aid, as charity. He allows her to keep her illusions.
And she wavers. That's the word the text uses. She doesn't decide. She drifts into the arrangement.
She is the wisp in the wind. She isn't driving the car. She is just sitting in the passenger seat watching the scenery go by. She moves into the apartment Drouet pays for. She becomes Mrs. Drouet to the landlord.
But she isn't Mrs. Drouet. She is a kept woman.
By the standards of the day, she is ruined. She is a fallen woman. But by the standards of her physical experience, she is warm, fed, and well-dressed for the first time in her life.
And the book forces you to ask which is more real, the social label or the physical comfort.
Exactly. She looks in the mirror and sees a prettier Carrie, but she looks in her mind and sees a worse one, and she hesitates which to believe. The mirror tells her she is winning. Her conscience, her social training, tells her she's losing.
Okay, so Dre has saved her from the factory. He is the first step up the ladder. But Drew isn't the top of the food chain.
Not even close.
Enter Section 5, the ambassador. Enter Hurstwood.
George Hurstwood. Now, if Drew is a merry, unthinking moth, Hurstwood is a substantial, solid object. He is the manager of Fitzgerald and Moy's, which the book describes as a gorgeous saloon.
And this isn't some dive bar. The description of this saloon is lush. Tile floors, rich screens, polished wood. It's a place of power. It's where the deals happen.
It is the nexus of money and influence in Chicago. And Hurstwood is the ambassador of this world. He is under 40, shrewd, clever. The text says he represents the first grade below the luxuriously rich.
So he's not a millionaire, but he manages their world. He's the guy they all know.
He knows the actors, the politicians, the businessmen. He has status. He has gravitas. He has a weight that Drouet, the flashy salesman, lacks completely.
And Dre introduces them, because Dre is kind of an idiot, right?
Yeah.
He's proud of Carrie. He wants to show off his conquest to his cool, important friend.
Drouet is egotistical. He loves the grace women reflect back on him. He thinks Carrie is just a pretty accessory. He doesn't see the danger in introducing her to a man who's better than him in every way.
But to understand Hurstwood, we need to look at his home life.
Yes. We have to understand why he is vulnerable to Carrie. He lives in a brick house near Lincoln Park. On paper, he's a success. He has the house, the wife, the kids, the American dream.
But it's a dry home. It sounds miserable.
It is a tinderbox waiting for a spark. His wife, Julia, is a social climber. She's vain, she's cold. There is no love, no affection between them. They coexist for social standing. She wants his money for her social life. He wants her to run the house. That's it.
And the kids?
The children, Jessica and George Jr., are independent and indifferent. Jessica just wants money for clothes. She ignores her father unless she wants something. Hurstwood is bored. He is profoundly lonely. He's essentially a checkbook for a family that barely tolerates him.
So he's ripe for an affair.
He's starving for genuine affection, for someone to actually see him and not just his wallet.
So he meets Carrie. And the contrast between Hurstwood and Dre is sharp. We talked about shoes earlier. Dre wears patent, leather, shiny, flashy, a bit loud.
And Hurstwood wears soft calf shoes.
What does that signify?
That is the difference between new money, tacky, and old money, comfort and confidence. Dre squeaks when he walks. Hurstwood is silent and assured. Hurstwood is tactful. He's respectful. He listens to Carrie. He treats her like a lady, whereas Dre treats her like a doll or a pet.
There is the scene where they play euchre, a card game.
Yes.
Ish.
Hurstwood comes over to their apartment. He wears these rich Scotch plaid vests. He just looks more substantial. And during the card game, he subtly helps Carrie win against Dre.
That is such a seductive move. It's not about the cards.
It's not about the cards at all. He's creating an alliance with her against Drouet. He makes her feel smart. He treats her with a deference that makes Drouet seem loud and crude by comparison.
Exactly. Carrie begins to see Drouet's defects through the lens of Hurstwood's sophistication. It is the same mechanic as before. The tan jacket made her old clothes look shabby. Hurstwood makes Drouet look shabby. She is trading up. She is realizing that Drouet was just a stepping stone.
She is seeing a higher level of the game, a better prize.
And what does Hurstwood see in her?
He sees her innate refinement. Drouet misses that. He just thinks she's cute and naive. Hurstwood thinks she has a soul. He thinks she has potential. He sees a light in her, a quietness and a capacity for wonder that is completely missing from his cold brick house and his transactional marriage.
She listens to him. That's a big part of
A
it.
huge part. She's a rapt audience, and his ego is starving for that. He finally has someone who looks at him with admiration, not just calculation.
This brings us to the philosophical core of the book. Section 6. We have to talk about this wisp in the wind idea. This is where Dreiser stops telling the story for a minute and just talks to us.
This is chapter 8. It's famous. Dreiser pauses the story to give us a lecture on human nature. He says, "Among the forces which sweet and play throughout the universe, untutored man is but a wisp in the wind."
He talks about the tiger, right? That's such a weird but cool analogy.
Yes. It's a bit clunky, but the idea is powerful. He says the tiger is guided by instinct. It doesn't have free will, so it doesn't have responsibility. It just acts. If a tiger kills, it isn't evil. It's just a tiger being a tiger.
Okay, that makes sense.
But humans, he argues, are in an evolutionary limbo. We have lost the perfect guidance of instinct. We aren't animals anymore, but we haven't yet fully developed the guidance of reason.
So we are just flailing around in the middle. We are smart enough to want things, but not smart enough to know what's good for us.
We are wobbling. We are pulled by desire, by shiny objects, by what feels good in the moment, but we don't have the wisdom to control it. We are half animal, half angel, and that makes us messy and vulnerable.
And this is where Dreiser gets radical about morality. He defines conscience.
Yes. This is maybe the most controversial part for Mrs. Doubleday. He defines conscience not as the voice of God or some innate moral compass, but as world's opinions, habit, and convention.
That is huge. So when Carrie feels guilty, it's not because she sinned against heaven. It's because she is afraid of what the neighbors would say. It's social anxiety.
Exactly. The social conditioning. It's peer pressure on a massive scale. The text asks a rhetorical question. Wherefore, villain, hast thou failed? And the answer suggests that without the fires of merriment and the gorgeous hues of trade, without warmth and nice things, the human heart is crushed by the chill hand of winter.
He's basically saying, can you blame her? She chose warmth over cold. She chose life over a slow death in a factory. Morality is a luxury for people who have warm coats.
That is a profound thought. Morality is a luxury for people who have warm coats. And you can't understand this book unless you understand that idea.
This leads to the Elfland concept. What is Elfland?
Elfland is the illusion. It's the promise of happiness that the theater, the lights, the department stores, and the city offer. Carrie isn't driven by wickedness. She is driven by a longing for Elfland. She thinks that if she just gets the right jacket, the right apartment, the right man, the right status, she will be happy. She is chasing a fairy tale.
The fetishism of commodities.
Precisely. Objects become the only way she knows how to solve spiritual dissatisfaction. If she feels empty, she buys something. If she feels sad, she looks at nice things. The solution is always external, always material.
So by the end of the section we are covering today, Chapter 11, the triangle is established.
It is firmly in place. Carrie has improved her appearance. She's no longer the naive country girl. She is an apt student of fortune's ways.
She has learned how to dress, how to walk, how to arrange her hair. She's learning the part.
She is Mrs. Drouet, in name to the landlord. But spiritually, she is drifting toward the superior force, which is Hurstwood. Drouet is completely oblivious. Hurstwood is charmed and intrigued. And Carrie is just waiting to see where the wind blows her next. She has no master plan. She is just reacting to the magnets.
It is tragic, but it is also fascinatingly non-judgmental.
That is the revolution. That is why Mrs. Doubleday hated it. Dreiser looks at this fallen woman and says, she is just an organism trying to adapt to her environment. She's just trying to survive. Let's study her, not condemn her.
So let's wrap this up. What are the key takeaways here as we leave Carrie, Drouet, and Hurstwood in this precarious balance?
Okay, first, and this is the big one, Sister Carrie challenges the Victorian idea that ruin follows lost virtue. Carrie is ruined by conventional standards, but physically she is thriving. She is eating steaks and wearing soft leather. The universe is not punishing her, it's feeding her.
So it decouples morality from destiny.
Completely. Second, the magnet, the city. Capitalism creates desires that override the waif's weak will. It's a story about forces, not choices. It's a story about how the environment shapes the individual, not how the individual forges their own path through sheer force of will.
And for a final provocative thought, the text suggests we are all insects produced by heat. We are brought to life by comfort and money, and we pass away without it.
It's a humbling thought, isn't it? We like to think we are captains of our souls. We like to think we make rational, moral decisions. But Dreiser asks a question that is maybe more relevant today than it was in 1900.
Which is?
In a world of influencers, constant advertising, and the relentless persuasion of fashion on social media, are we any less wisps in the wind than Carrie Weber? If you were freezing and starving, and a warm coat and a steak dinner were offered to you, no strings attached, would you really stand on ceremony? Would your morals hold up against your hunger?
That is the question to mull over. Next time, we are going to see what happens when the tinderbox of Hurstwood's life finally catches fire.
Oh, it gets explosive.
It really does. Hurstwood is about to make a mistake that will make Carrie's slide look like a picnic.
It's a game changer. The second act of this book is a wild ride.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you in the next one.